and welcome back to the ABCs of ERP and beyond. And in our last episode, we covered the top 5 reasons to have customizations. And today we are flipping the script. Customizations can unlock real business value when done well, but they do also carry risks that many companies underestimate. So in this episode, we are diving into the top 5 reasons to avoid customizations, or at least treat them with serious caution. Everything from ballooning implementation costs, painful upgrades, change resistance, and everything in between. So we will unpack why less might be more when it comes to ERP tailoring. We'll explain why what you think is a custom need might already be solved as well. So I couldn't not do this without my fellow co-host. So as ever, I am joined once again with Nirav Shah. Welcome back.
Hey, Peter. Happy to be back here and continue this conversation we started on our last episode. And it's, we played one side of it, right? Last time we said top 5 reason to customize your system. And we all know, customizations carry with it a lot of risks. And you have to kind of walk into any one of these projects knowing that there's going to be some level of risk in different phases of the project, right? There's going to be people risk, there's going to be partner risk, there's going to be, software risk, and customization is a risk, and sometimes it's unavoidable, sometimes it is avoidable. And it's just constant decision making in these things, right? You're weighing, well, how good is this versus how bad is this for the business long term?
Yep.
And
we said last time that there might be a cold hard reason why you have to customize if there's a regulation that requires you to customize. That's fine. We said last time that we're not saying that don't do any customizations, but if you have to, you might want to think about these few things. And one other point actually is kind of a tip that says, remember, we're saying how to top 5 reasons to avoid customizations. We're not saying here's top 5 reasons why you should never customize.
Right.
Because and one of our points we spoke before we started recording here, we talked about the inflexibility that can come with a customization further down the road. But I think you can also be in a position where you are naturally inflexible because you haven't allowed yourself to explore the route of customizing where appropriate, right? So I guess today we're going to go through these as our top 5 reasons why you want to consider avoiding customizations. But I think these are kind of also the top 5 things to think about if you are in that position where you've got some kind of regulatory requirement that says you have to do something here. Well, maybe you want to think about these 5 points and have that in the back of your mind as you go through that kind of SOW with your partner.
Yeah, absolutely. And have an open mind, right? We're going to go through 5 things here, top 5 reasons to avoid customizations. And these are just best practices that we've learned through our years in terms of, making the right decision on avoiding customizations. And it's probably one of the hardest decisions to decide we want to avoid customizations. So yeah, let's dive right into our top 5 here, Peter.
Okay, let's go. Point number 1, straight up. Increased implementation costs. I kind of referred to this when I said SOW, because often this is something that's priced independently from your normal implementation cost that you'll have from your partner. As soon as a customization requirement is identified, oftentimes it's then written up separate from your kind of implementation agreement that says, right, here's the customization, because now we're talking about developer hours, and this is where we'll see the increased costs in our implementation project.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes a partner will tell you a lot of it's unknown until you get into the implementation. But here's the thing, what I'll say, being on the side, we sell ERP and, we talk to customers all day long. Try to ask your partner or whoever who's implementing your system is, can you identify any customizations up front, right? During the sales cycle, during your evaluation phase. Because if you've done a good requirements review, done a good discovery between yourself and the partner, and your partner understands your true requirements and what you're looking for and asking for, 9 times out of 10, you should be able to identify, let's say, 80% of any gaps that the software has, right? Um, and then what you could do is say, let's document these gaps and let's see, well, how much are these customizations going to cost us, right? Give us a rough number, give us a rough estimate of these customizations, which is the best scenario, right? Out of the two is that you've identified gaps, you've worked with the partner, it's been a transparent sales process, and they've documented it in the sales cycle, and you know exactly moving into the implementation, what these customizations will entail, and then decide whether you want to do the customizations or not.
Mm-hmm.
The scary part the other part of it is you don't know. And you go through the sales cycle and you're told a lot of like, yeah, it's gonna do this. Yeah, it'll do this. Yeah, the system will behave this way. But you don't see it, right? I always say see it. You gotta be able to see it, right? Don't just take anyone's word for it. Like, you know, like anything else, let's say you're gonna buy a Ferrari, right? Let's just say most likely you're gonna go try to test drive it at least, right? Or at least see it. You're not gonna spend $300,000 without like even, touching it or whatever, looking at it, right? That doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So think of that. This is going to be a heavy investment for you, for your business. Look at it. See how it's going to work, right? See the gap. And at the end of the day, if the gap exists, you're going to have full disclosure about it. It's going to be documented. Then you decide whether you want to do it or not. What's the benefit of it? And you move
Mm-hmm.
on. But if you don't know it, that starts opening up a lot of unknowns. Because one customization could lead to another customization, could lead to another customization. It starts becoming this big snowball. You can't stop, right? It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's where you run into problems, right? That's
Yeah.
where you kind of have to say, time out. Do we need this customization?
Mm-hmm.
What's available out of the box? Because this is like really, crossing territories we didn't want to do. We didn't want, even to even think about this. We're hoping for a solution that had this, process in place already, right? It just becomes really, really messy.
Yeah. I think we spoke about this when we talked about how to identify the right partner fit for a company that's looking at or is exploring ERP. And I think we mentioned then that it's always good to try and find a partner that has a mix of skill sets. So this is a key area, I think. If you are in that discovery phase, say you've got your ERP partner on site, say for a week, to run through all of the different business processes, that kind of deep dive discovery sessions.
Hmm.
It's really useful if you've got a partner that has a mix of skill sets, i.e., you've got someone that is very business focused, who understands how general manufacturing works from a
Yep.
business point of view
Right.
or from an ops point of view,
Hmm.
and also have in the room the ERP expert as
Yeah.
well that knows the solution that you're moving to. So if, for example, we're talking about Acumatica, it'd be great if you had a partner that has experience in your industry
Yep.
and the operations behind it, as well as someone that is very experienced with Acumatica, its
Hmm.
capabilities, to a very granular level, not just like, oh yeah, it can process sales orders. I
Exactly.
want someone in the room that knows everything about the sales module, for example,
Hmm.
what is
Hmm.
possible and what isn't possible.
Yeah.
And you might find as you're going through that discovery session, you're going through maybe an order to cash flow, and you stumble across something that's a little bit complicated, a little bit different from the norm. You'd hope that between the two people, your two consultants there in the room, they would start talking to themselves and going, right, what we're seeing in front of us, is this just, can we solve this problem by suggesting a change to their business process? Can we solve this problem by maybe suggesting a different way that operations can run that we may have seen before, their
Right.
own experience?
Yeah.
If not, defer to this guy who's like the expert of Acumatica and go, right, does this sound like a customization? Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. In your eyes, is this, I don't know, is this 10 hours? Is this 1,000 hours?
Right.
And then
Right.
just to get a ballpark figure, no one's going to
Yep.
hold you to it, but at least that can give you an idea of whether it's worth it. Like
Yeah.
the difference between it's just a small configuration, a small customization, an extra table, and a bit of logic, 10 to 20 hours.
Yeah.
Fine, you can
Yeah.
ballpark that and go yes. If it's like, well, I don't know, this could be quite a big one. There's multiple things going on here. There's multiple connected tables that need to be built. Then the logic applied to it, etc., etc. This could be 200 hours.
Oh yeah.
Then it's like, okay, well, now we're talking about 50K. Is this now worth it?
Exactly.
Um, and I think that's key, as you said, at the start of the project, to try and identify those at the beginning, especially in these discovery sessions, because often those discovery sessions, you'll have um, uh, the meeting at the table with all of the department heads involved
Yep.
and your ERP partner. That's a perfect opportunity for everyone to be in that room together and discuss this way before you're going to have to be at crunch point of talking about, holy crap, we can't go live
Right.
because we did need
Right.
this customization.
Exactly. Yeah. And think about the from a budget perspective. You could go from, let's say you initially out of the gate, you've received a budget of 40K for the implementation, which could double once you start adding in all the customizations, right?
Yeah.
So not knowing that up front could really, really get your budget out of whacks, and then all of a sudden, everyone is upset, like, hey, why do we have to keep spending all this money? How come we didn't know about this? How come we didn't know about this? It just becomes a really bad relationship with the partner. So, I always suggest that, if you could try to identify and have a really strong discovery on the sales cycle, I think that's huge. I think that goes a long way to look at which customizations can you avoid. Okay. And as you mentioned, Peter, right, if your partner is really strong in these areas, right, especially in your industry, they're going to tell you tips like, hey, these are things what other customers done in the same similar situation. We understand this, and maybe they've developed their own IP, which, I
Yeah.
don't want to, kind of give out a spoiler here, so, of one of our points down the road, but it's important that there is a Rolodex of maybe smaller enhancements or something that your partner has done in the past because they know how it works, and it just
Yeah.
makes it easier for you to transition to this new system with minimal
hmm
kind of enhancements,
Yeah.
quote
I think
unquote.
this. I think this is advantageous for both sides as well. No one wants a messy, complicated customization, and neither side wants to carry the risk and burden of managing that and maintaining that.
Right,
The partner doesn't, the business doesn't.
right,
So I would lean on your vendor here if they have experience of other similar businesses. Say you're a manufacturer. Say you think that you need this customization because of this super complicated way that you record scrap.
right,
For example, maybe that ERP vendor's already seen someone with a similar thing and it was solved by tweaking the process of going, maybe instead of recording like this, like maybe you do it at the end of every shift and do it like
right.
this instead and use this
Yeah,
native feature. That
yeah,
means now you're looking at meeting in the middle. Maybe it's a change for the company, um, but also now we're talking about maybe configuring the
right.
system different, which is different to customizing the system.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
be flexible on both sides because you
Yeah,
might be able to solve this without increasing your costs through having to customize something.
exactly.
Um,
And to add one more point to this, before we move on to the next one, is also look at the publisher's roadmap. It may be a
yeah,
customization today, maybe a version later, two versions later, it's standard product. So ask those questions to your partner, right? Like, hey, should we do this now? Should we make this investment? Um, or is this something coming down the road? So always kind of also put that in your toolkit to have that conversation because with these SaaS solutions now, publishers are dumping so much new functionality every single release that, it might be a good chance there is something there that doesn't no longer requires a customization because of some future functionality that's coming out.
Yep. Yep. I agree. Especially when you're on SaaS solutions, whether that's Microsoft or Acumatica or Infor, they publish their roadmaps, development roadmaps for the next 2, 3, 4 years.
Right.
So oftentimes you can see what they're planning, what they've got coming up. So you might say, right, let's bear the burden of continuing to do this as a manual process for now. We're happy to hold off and keep managing this awful Excel spreadsheet, knowing that we're going to get the native functionality simply by upgrading to the latest version
Yeah.
where we get all of the
Yeah.
features,
Yeah.
the native features
The native features.
for this. Yeah.
Huge.
Speaking of upgrades, point number 2 is complicated upgrades. If you're throwing in customizations into the mix. So let's open this one. So what makes customizations cause complicated upgrades?
Well, so let's talk about Acumatica, for example, for a second. Anytime you upgrade to the next version, all that customization has to be get unpublished. Okay? So you unpublish all these apps, these packages, and then the upgrade happens. Then you got to republish all the apps, right? And then you got to see which of these apps broke because of some new code changes or a new field that was inserted here, right? Or the API is not connected anymore, or a slew of different scenarios that could impact your upgrade. Then what happens? You got to get your partner involved and say, hey, this customization broke, and you got to partner has to uplift it to the next version, and that type of thing. And now you're bearing additional costs on that because from version to version, there is a little bit of work that happens to upgrade those apps to the next version. You can't just assume that you could take the app from one version and automatically insert to another. You can't. You can't do that. You gotta at least update the version number inside the app, which requires someone to go into the code
Yeah.
and do a little work. So um, you know, you got to be careful with that because if that customization is so central or critical to your business and it's massive, it's a big customization. You basically rewrote this whole new module, right? That never existed in your ERP, and now there's an upgrade that happens. Well, guess what? That's probably a little mini project now, just to maintain and test, upgrade, and support that customization you did. It's not just a
Yeah.
straightforward move with minimal cost. Probably need to budget some money to maintain that, right? And there's probably a fee with the partner to help you maintain it because they have to upgrade it from version to version, and then to train your team, right? Any additional changes you
Mm-hmm.
do to it, so it just becomes like it just gets bigger. Like I said, right? The
Yeah.
bigger the
Yeah.
customization, the harder it is to maintain it with upgrades, version to
Yeah.
version.
I think this is if ever there was a selling point for Acumatica Flex, this would be it, wouldn't
Bingo.
it?
Yep.
Like Acumatica Flex here, you get to choose. You have a longer window. You get to
Yep.
choose when you push that upgrade. It just gives you that breathing space that you might need if
Yeah.
you've got a large, complicated customization to try it out before you're forced to upgrade, and
Right.
now it's impacting your day-to-day operations.
Right.
Oh,
Exactly. Exactly. And like Acumatica Stay Current, for example, you're moved and like you don't
yeah,
even know you've upgraded, and all of a sudden you can't operate on Monday morning, right? So, yeah, and all these publishers are pushing upgrades. Like they don't want anyone to stay in a previous version. Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. Take that for instance. Like you only have a certain window. After that, you're forced to upgrade. Like I think it's max of 3 months, right? Is it 3 months? 3 months, something like that. I have to find out. But it's a max of 3 months after the new release comes out. Like you have to upgrade. It doesn't matter how big the customer is. It does not matter how big that customer is. You're
yeah.
upgrading.
I don't blame
Period.
them. They don't
You
want to
know?
be having to support 15 prior
Yeah.
versions of their ERP.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's you know. the more customization you do, the harder it's going to be to keep up with upgrades that the publisher is pushing out on the cloud. So keep that in
Yep.
mind. And every upgrade you do, even if it's a small upgrade, your partner's going to have to get involved, most likely, make a few minor tweaks just so you could use that customization. So if you
Yep.
could keep it vanilla,
Yep.
this point will be much easier for you.
I agree. Moving straight on then, difficulty finding good talent.
Yeah,
And I think we can probably say this is on both sides, on the partner side and the business side. Because a customization, you're going to need an expert in the business as much as you're going to need an expert on the vendor side.
yeah,
Let's break this one down.
yeah. This one is tricky in this job environment. First, it's hard to find people. You just know it's hard to find good talent, right? For anything. And then on top of that, you layer on someone that knows the ERP, the ERP that you've implemented, right? Let's say you implemented Acumatica and your power user for Acumatica just found a new job. Okay. Now all that knowledge went with them. So you got to find somebody else to replace them. It's just going to become that much tougher. If you have a fully customized system and it's not like out of the box, or fairly standard, it's going to be hard to recruit someone that's going to know all this customization right away. They have to come in, right? Yeah, maybe they might know some Acumatica, but they don't know your customization. So they're going to be kind of digging through everything, learning from all the users, right? The onboarding is going to be maybe 6 months to a year until they get comfortable with everything that you're doing in the system. And until that time, who's going to be there burning out all the fires that get created, right? Now you have to rely on your partner more because they did the customization. And what happens to your consulting costs? Skyrockets.
Yeah. Especially if it's not well documented, especially
Oh
with
God.
customization. It doesn't exist. The customization in its very nature is a bespoke solution for whatever complicated thing that you've got going on that is not out of the box. It doesn't exist anywhere. It's not
Right.
like you can Google your customization to find out how to
Exactly.
fix it. It's the only version of it. So if it's not well documented from a developer point of view, and that developer, even if that developer leaves that your partner, or maybe it's like an external developer. It's not someone that's actually on the books of your vendor,
Yeah.
and they haven't documented it well. Then they also need to get someone up to speed on their end of things
Yep.
when it inevitably needs maintenance or it breaks because of an upgrade. Now they need extra time to get up to speed, to be able to understand how this was put together. I know it. I know it from building um, Power BI semantic models. When you inherit someone else's huge semantic model with a bazillion tables going on,
Oh
it
boy.
takes a long time to just even get in the headspace of
Yeah.
that developer from 2 or 3 years ago. Go, right, what were they thinking
Yep.
at the time? Why did they think this was the right approach? Now,
Exactly.
it might have been the right approach. I'm not saying that it was bad development, but you need to understand their thought process, how they developed this customization from initial concept all the way through to delivery before you can even understand, right, what do I need to do? How do I need to change this?
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
this is difficult, good, even with finding good talent.
Yeah.
It all depends on some of that kind of the documentation side.
Yeah. It's documentation is like the last thing that gets actually looked at or concentrated on during an
Or even
implementation.
written. I
Or
hate
written.
it. Like you spent so much time developing it. It's like now to go back through your code and like
Yeah.
comment all of the lines of what's
Yeah.
going on. Like, I'll do that at some other point.
You don't want to do that.
You
Yeah.
never go
Yeah.
back.
You don't want to
No
do
one
that
ever goes
anymore.
back to document their own code. Like, or just ask Copilot these days. Just
Yeah.
give it the
That's
code and go,
Copilot.
right,
Yeah. I
add
don't,
in my comments.
you remember the Dynamics Nav days? Like the only way you knew what the document, what the customization was, if the programmer wrote in the object what they documented.
Yep. Yep. Any
Nine,
kind of comment lines in
and,
there.
and 9 times out of 10, you had zero idea what the hell they wrote.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you're looking at
Yeah.
like, what does it do?
What does
Why
it
did
do
it break?
exactly? Yeah, I know. What did it break? Yeah. Then you got to turn on the debugger and kick everybody out of production for like 5 hours. Fun times.
Love it.
Fun times. Yeah. Yeah, but this is important, right? Like more customized system you have, it's gonna be hard to find people. that understand this ERP system that you've implemented.
Hmm.
It's not just going to be plug and play. So that's going
Yep.
to increase your cost big time.
Yep. And flipping this on the on as I said at the start of this point, on the business side of things, you want to have that expert, that kind of the ERP expert in your own business, whoever that is, especially if you're employing tactics like train the trainer. If that trainer then leaves, you'd hope that they have some kind of documented SOP for the business, for the end users, that are like handling this day to day. So the customization might not just be back end logic, there might be a front end screen as well that comes in
Yeah.
this customization package.
Yep.
And if, because it's not really down to the, well, I wouldn't say it's not really, it isn't down to the
Right.
partner to
Right.
deliver instruction manuals or SOPs with screenshots and step to step instructions of how to do something. That's on the company. That's on you.
That's other company. That's right.
So if you have someone that is like your inside ERP expert, get them to write short instructions. No one really enjoys, or no one really bothers to read instruction manuals. Really, they
Yeah.
skim read it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
have it at least documented, because if it does go wrong, that's when people suddenly want to find the instruction manual with a step-to-step instruction of how to
Exactly.
operate it. So
Exactly.
yeah, try and document it on
Yeah.
both the business and the
Yeah.
on the partner side.
What if customers did this? Just thought of this actually. What if they had like their own video series that they like uploaded on YouTube or something like that, only
You
on
know
their
what?
channel and just on all their ERP processes. So no more documenting, just shoot the video and let it upload on YouTube. And now you all of a sudden you got all your
I tell you,
processes and let people just watch the video.
I will mention them, but I expect some kind of endorsement if anyone from this company watches this episode.
Okay.
But ClickLearn is awesome at this.
Oh, ClickLearn. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I heard of them. I have heard of them in both the BC space and Acumatica.
Yeah,
Yep.
you can just screen record and it
Yeah.
will use AI to generate the text and the steps, and then you can record it. So you can also there's a plugin for Acumatica as well, so the end user can be guided in their own system. Like they'll have like click learn
Yeah.
in their instance,
Yeah.
and it'll be like how to do a sales order, and it will go click here, and you're actually doing it live in the system.
That's
It's
cool.
really cool.
That is cool.
Multi languages. It's awesome. Really good.
Okay. Do you guys
Uh,
use it for your implementation right
No. No, but I remember being really impressed with it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Maybe if you're a multinational and
Yeah,
you're like, how do I do instruction manuals in 15 different languages?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe ClickLearn will
That's pretty cool, actually.
get you there faster.
I
Um,
gotta look into that. ClickLearn.
ClickLearn, you've heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
And I want some kind
Uh,
of sponsorship, or I
yeah,
don't know,
yeah. I know.
paid for flights to Summit next year.
Totally, totally, absolutely. No, I think that's good. I think we've um yeah, I like that one. I like number three is an important one. Finding good talent, customization could throw a monkey wrench in that. You need to protect finding people, make it easy for you, and make the software easy to maintain. All right, next one.
Okay, point number four. It's funny; these are so linked. Next one: change management resistance. And I'm going to say what you've written down here. You put in parentheses shows weakness. Ooh. So unpack this for me, Narav.
Yeah, I mean, ERP projects are big change management projects. Let's face it, right? It's not like you're, saying, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and replace my Outlook with um, another Outlook version or whatever, right? Like, this is like every ERP implementation that a company does in their life cycle is because of an evolution that their business has matured and gone to another place that their current system could not handle, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was either too small, wasn't meeting the needs of the current technology or the space, it's whatever reason. but you've come to a point where you've outgrown or the other systems being sunsetted, whatever that is, right? But now you're in this boat where you have purchased a new ERP system, and now you need to kind of do things differently. Your business is different now, right? Your business is
Yeah.
different than the way you implemented the ERP system or your first software. And if you take on that implementation with that lens, that yeah, we are a mature team now, or we have smarter team members, our products are made by smarter machines, faster machines.
Hmm.
We deliver faster, right? We provide all these other value-added services. So these customizations that we were doing before, can we handle a lot of that out of the box now with a more robust system, right? So
Yeah.
change management is a thing. You got to look at this as like we're changing systems because we have changed, and let's think about the good ways we've changed that we could use more out of the box functionality that the publisher gives us now, and not say, oh, we did something some way. We use this Excel spreadsheet for 15 years, and we only have to use this Excel spreadsheet for 15 years because that's how we did our planning. Like, guys, hold on, so let's stop. You know, these systems could process like 500,000 SKUs in like 40 minutes to an hour and give you a whole spit out of MRP and MPS results. Like, you don't have to use Excel, right? It'll give you smarter and more intelligent results, right? Take a moment to understand it and learn it. And don't develop this Excel spreadsheet inside your ERP because it's not doing anyone good anymore, right? Learn to use a
No.
system.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Is what, and sometimes that's a little bit of a pet peeve, to be honest with you. We do implementations all day long, and when a customer comes up to us, it's like, Rob, we need this enhancement. Like, we just need it. There's no way around it. And you know, Bob here in AP, he just uses this report all the time. And yeah, we know you could do it electronically in the system and run this report, but he just needs this one in this specific way. Like, can you just have it? I'm like, sure, but you have this other report that gives you more information, right? And
Yep.
it's designed to, take decisions to the next level and think about the business a little differently. No, we can't do that. Can't do that. We've just been doing this for 15 years. We have to make it the same way for him. Like,
I,
you
I
know,
completely agree. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for another endorsement and another sponsorship deal here to pay for
keep
my
it coming, keep
return
it
flight.
money.
to
You're gonna
return
be
to
rated.
pay for my return flight from next year's summit.
Okay.
Is Velixo.
Oh yeah, I like them
It's a
too.
great bridge.
I
If
like
you've
them
got,
too.
because as much as I slate Excel, I have a love-hate relationship with it. I often play on the hate side of the relationship more than the love. But look, it's the best financial tool that you've got out there, and
Yeah,
well-built Excel reports
yeah,
can run multi-million-dollar companies. There's a
yeah,
whole industry of financial planning
yeah,
and analysis of
yeah,
people. There's a whole industry of external consultants that are Excel gods that build incredible solutions.
yeah,
And yes, if you have a great solution already that works, that hasn't got mistakes or bugs in, because not believe it or not every Excel report has an error. So if you do have, a lot of them do, but if you do have one that is great, is working great,
yeah,
but now you've got the rest of your business connected to your ERP, and you don't want to kind of lose this report, then Velixo might be a nice option here because it allows you to pull in data from your ERP. And if you're doing some stuff in that Excel report that spits out a number, then you need to tell the ERP that number. You can push the data back in as well
yeah,
through
yeah,
Velixo. So you've
yeah,
heard it here,
yeah.
Velixo.
Well, like so.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
I want to fly back to London Heathrow, please, Velixo.
so so doing BI reports and stuff like that, like, I feel like that's not too much of a custom. That's not a customization. That's a natural extension of the ERP implementation,
Yeah,
right? To do,
yeah,
reports and stuff like that. I think that's totally fair. I think that's necessary for a successful deployment. I think every ERP implementation should have some level of BI reporting
Yeah.
involvement in it, um, versus like doing maybe some logic change, business logic
Yeah,
change
I would
in
agree.
the
Like,
ERP, you know?
avoid these silly little customizations. We're like, oh, well, this is a customized screen if you want to see it that way. Like, do you
Yeah,
really need to see it that way?
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Because then
Like,
before you know it, you've got 50 customized screens.
yeah, exactly.
Great.
Exactly. That all have to be maintained at every version,
Hmm.
you know?
Yep.
Something it's a give and take, man. Everything's a give and take in these implementations, right? And you got to have to find the fine line. Like, okay, what am I willing to give up here just to
Yeah.
make, the environment smoother for the company at the end of the day.
Yep. All right. Rapidly run out of time and points here, but we are now on to point number 5. And Nirav, there was a reason why I was dropping in a couple of uh, named companies out there.
Yeah.
The two that I mentioned are ISVs. Now, point number 5 here we've got is it might not be a customization you need. It might already been solved by a third party company that already has a package that does exactly what you need. So,
Hmm.
our fifth and final point of why you want to maybe avoid customizations is don't reinvent the wheel.
Don't reinvent the wheel. Exactly. And there are some really good ISVs, and if anyone doesn't know what an ISV stands for, it's an independent software vendor. They are should be certified and could, can make solutions that are bolt on to the ERP system, right? And they fill gaps, right? The ERP product, especially in the tier two kind of arena, the SMB arena, there's going to be gaps. So you're getting a really, I would say, an 80% complete product out of the box, right? And then to fill, the gaps for your specific business, instead of doing customizations, right? That you're writing custom code for in business life. Look in the what we call the third party community, where these are not so much customizations. They're products that these third party vendors have created to fill gaps that may do what you need the system to do to fill the gap plus more, not just
Yeah.
that one small thing. So look at it from the perspective of an investment you're making to fill, a larger hole that might be in the system, but that code is maintained by a third party that has to kind of keep its code in synchronization with upgrade patterns that happen with the vendor, publisher,
Yeah.
right? That makes upgrades much smoother at the end of the day. It's not you're
Yeah.
managing your own set of codes because they have 55,000 other customers that use their same product. And now you're getting a community of knowledge, you're getting a community of feedback, and they're in charge of maintaining the code for all those customers and also your environment that falls within it. So I think it's just less risk when you go the ISV route, because they have some pretty good products that might meet your industry standards plus more, um, and not to, so you're not just looking at customizations in a silo and just bringing it for your own company, right? In your own, and there might be a few like that, but when you look at industry specific enhancements, right, stuff like that, look in the ISV community. I'm pretty sure something's already been written that is not custom. It's you're filling it with a third party app, which is a little different.
Yep.
That's maintained and managed by a third party vendor.
Yeah, and I would also say that this isn't necessarily something that's completely independent with just like an API link to your ERP. A lot of the solutions have baked in screens as well, so they have like their own systems and servers that are doing a lot of the logic, but it's also has the front end connection. So you might have a solution that gives you a new area on your navigation bar in
Hmm.
your ERP, and everything is actually done through there. And then maybe anything that's more granular in detail, you would have like on their own site some kind of back end login.
Exactly.
So it's not like it's completely sits different and it's like now you're managing two systems. A lot of these third party solutions feel native. They feel like it's a
Hmm.
native solution in your ERP
Hmm.
when it just sits there as an area in the navbar.
Exactly.
But I would say, like, I wouldn't say just like immediately go, oh, let's just go and buy a solution from an ISV. you need to still weigh up the costs. If we go back to like the cost side of things we were speaking about at the start, and you mentioned it, like there might be an ISV solution that does what you need and more,
Right.
but you're going to be paying for the and more, whether you're going to use it or not. So
Mm-hmm.
before you find a solution on an ISV that goes, oh, this is brilliant, we need that for my finance team. I've got 20 people in my finance team. And then you find out it's $100 per user per month
Yeah.
for that ISV solution.
Mm-hmm.
Now the cost starts increasing, and I'm only going to be using 20% of their solution anyway for this one thing
Right.
I need.
Right.
Weigh
Right.
up that total cost
Mm-hmm.
annually
Mm-hmm.
versus what if we just got this, the 20% that we would need, what if we did this as a customization package? What would be the cost then? Now,
Right.
granted, you still have the other problems of risk, more complex upgrades.
Yeah.
What if it breaks and the developer's no longer around, etc., etc. So there's still those risks there.
Yeah.
But I guess there's also the risk on the ISV. Like, what if they just fold and go
100%.
away?
100%.
you know.
100%. Yeah.
So I think you need to still weigh up those things, because
Understood.
often these ISVs will have their own pricing structure. It's not just like a one-time buy.
Yeah.
Often
Right.
it's a subscription-based thing as
Subscription.
well. So you need to weigh up like the total cost, maybe a total annual cost expected,
Yeah.
especially if you're not going to use it. It's great if you find a solution that's like, great, it does answer this thing that we thought was going to be a customization, plus all of these other cool things that are going to increase our ROI further than we
Right.
expected in this project.
Right.
Absolutely, that's a win-win.
Yeah.
But if you're buying a fully fledged solution and you're only going to buy it for this one aspect, think about the cost of doing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't just jump to it to completely avoid a customization. I would
Exactly.
say it's just another thing to consider before
Yeah.
you commit to
Yeah.
customization.
Yeah. Lean on your partner. Your partner knows, some really good reputable ISVs that can help them fill the gap as well. So, um, you know, it's this will help reduce a lot of these costs that we're talking about. But like you mentioned, subscription. That's kind of where the world is right now. It's all subscription based. I think I probably have two not NetSuite, Netflix memberships. I don't even know about everything subscription, but yeah, it's one of those things. I think ISVs are a great play. They add a lot of tremendous value in the ecosystem, and if the gap is big enough, I think it's something to consider.
Yep. The other thing I quite like is that with the ISVs, it allows you to uh, possibly, it's all the people side of things as well for an ISV. I think
Hmm.
if you have a solution that makes people want to interact with your ERP more anyway, makes their lives easier, um, and it builds the confidence in your teams after go live,
Yeah.
then there might be some extra ROI that's very difficult to measure, but it's going to be a tremendous support once you're live. Once maybe you've got some items that's a phase two, um, to try and keep people engaged and eager to learn the system. I think sometimes if you do go down the ISV route, that kind of helps, doesn't it? It kind of pushes the team along. It
Yeah.
shows that the company is investing in to make I'd say make it more enjoyable, but make it easier to do their jobs on a day-to-day basis. So
Yeah.
there might be these kind of intangible things that are often missed when you're trying to do kind of debriefs
Right.
after an implementation project,
Right.
that you can easily take for granted. So there might be some added benefits there
Yeah.
from an ISV solution.
Agreed.
Good. Anything else to add over the last two episodes, Nirav? This is pretty much
No.
customization's done. We've covered a
Yeah.
lot of stuff over the
We
last
have,
couple of
yeah,
episodes.
yeah, yeah. No, this is an important topic on every implementation, and you just have to be well educated. Hopefully, we've kind of given enough tips on the last two episodes on whether to do the customization or not to do the customization. If there's anything that we've missed, let us know. Be happy to circle back and do another episode around this topic. But this is a very, when you talk about ERP implementations, I think this one doesn't get talked about enough. I think this has to be talked about more and more upfront. That hey, this is an important piece of a custom, and it has to be a healthy conversation. Shouldn't be a conversation that people run away from, right? It's you're gonna either have it upfront or you're gonna have it later on. having it up front is going to be more positive, impactful. Having it later on is going to be more regretful and annoying and costly. So, try to look at it that way and um, always go into it with an open mind.
Yep, I agree. I think customizations aren't inherently bad, but they should earn their place. Start with what your ERP can do out of the box. Be flexible, as we said at the start. Lean on your partner that's seen a bazillion other companies like you and what they're doing differently. Explore ISV options and only really customize where it's clear there's no smarter alternative. Just be careful with them. And I hope that over the last couple of episodes, we've opened your eyes on the do's and don'ts, really, when it comes to customizations. So thank you once again for listening to the ABCs of ERP and Beyond, podcasts all around enterprise resource planning systems, whether you're on one already and looking to move on to something newer, or whether you're stuck on QuickBooks and Excel and want to move on to your first ERP. This is the podcast for you, completely free. We do it for fun. So please help spread the message. We post a new episode every 2 weeks. It goes on to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of the major podcast platforms, as well as YouTube. So we sometimes showcase live demos in ERP and give some presentations as well. So make sure you find us on there. Nirav, where can people find you?
Yeah, LinkedIn is great. Nirav Shah, I think is my handle. Love to continue the conversation over there and help answer any questions. So we love talking about this um, and continue to educate because these are projects that you go through once every 20, 30 years. So the more information you have in your hands, the better decision you're going to be able to make for your company. And everyone should be able to kind of have a better system than they started off with in this journey. So happy to contribute to anyone going through ERP projects.
Very good. Thank you very, very much, Nirav. Enjoy the next 2 weeks, and I will catch you on the next episode.
You got it. Thanks, Peter.